the outset that I believe that this is a book which is a must-read for anyone who is interested in Australian politics. Karen, let me say that I think you've done an absolutely amazingly thorough and painstaking job, and it leaves the reader, it certainly left me with a feeling that there could hardly be anything else we could possibly learn about this fascinating play. You've done a tremendous job. And of course it's not, I recommend the book not only for that reason, the subject, but also of course in telling the story of Albo. You have some very interesting insights into the operations of our fascinating machine, the Australian Labor Party, and of Australian federal politics more generally. I guess at the outset, the easiest, best way of getting the contextual perspective of the subject is to look at some of the tributes and character assessments of Albo that Karen has collected. And she's done that not only from his colleagues within the party, but also very interestingly across the broader political spectrum. I won't exhaust you by going to all of them, there are so many, but I think you get some sort of idea of the man from the nature of the tributes that are paid to him by his colleagues and also, as I say, from people across the spectrum. The first one I'll refer to is an old friend of mine who was then in 1996 Albo's campaign manager, Tim Gartrell. And Tim was one of the many younger up-and-coming people within the party that Albo, himself still a young man, had mentored, and Gartrell was extremely grateful for this. He says, Tim was quoted by Karen. He said, this is Tim Gartrell, who went on to become Federal Secretary of the Labor Party. He was a very important mentor in our generation of activists coming through New South Wales Young Labor, Tim says. He motivated people through his own personal courage and tenacity in a nasty, tough internal party environment. The old days of hard factional warfare in New South Wales Labor. But he also built a deep relationship with its younger activists, encouraging us and being generous with his time, letting us in on his thinking. It was genuine, but also very canny leadership. As a result, we'd have walked over broken glass for the bloke. So that gives you an idea of how at a very early stage of his own career, this man was thinking of others, trying to help mentor those younger people coming on. It's a remarkable tribute also from Penny Wong, and I would like to refer to that. This is at page 284 of the book, and it's a remarkable, warm and I think compelling tribute to her colleague. This is what Penny Wong has to say. In Albo, I'll say this to you. I think he is the finest and toughest politician of his generation. He's someone who knows how the Parliament works, and he knows how to make the Parliament work for the people he represents. Grainler, that's his seat, Grainler needs Arbo, that's the Arbo seat, Grainler. Grainler needs Arbo, the Parliament needs Arbo, and I say to you, the Labor Party and the Australian people need Arbo. And she went on to say that this came, obviously her respect came from his commitment to the concepts of equality. She said, it's as simple as that. Equality on the basis of class, equality on the basis of race, equality on the basis of gender, equality on the basis of sexuality. He's been consistent about that. And there is a heartfelt expression of commitment. Not the picture of the hard fighting man, the man of absolute commitment and integrity, commitment to the ideals for which our party stands. And I also would like just briefly to refer to something that Kim Beazley said. Because, as you know, Albo went into Parliament in 1996 and we took a bit of a thrashing, and Kim was the leader, and I'll just read you very briefly from what Kim had to say at that time, including about Albo. Now I've got to just find this reference, I've got it here somewhere. Kim, here we are. Teddy. Anthony's provocative politics were also well employed in the post-defeat environment across Labor caucus. At their first meeting after the massive loss, Labor MPs and senators were contemplating what would clearly be a yawning, disillusioning stretch out of government. Its new leader, Kim Beazley, had the job of trying to put it all together. Kim told them that they needed to regroup and be robust, but be responsible as Her Majesty's loyal opposition. But when the meeting finished, he called over the new young lefty from New South Wales, as Anthony tells of the big man fixed on him and said, "Not you, I want you to give them help." Anthony was designated one of the chief bomb chuckers. His reputation was he was a brawler, Kim says. But you know, the thing about him was, and I always thought this, he was an incredibly intelligent brawler. He was not going to conduct himself as a moron, but he'd conduct himself strategically, and he always did. And I think that's a great tribute from Kim, and summed up, you know, the strengths and the particular characteristics of this man very well. Now, those are tributes to Albo, followed by Karen, coming from people within his own party. But what's very significant is the respect for Albo that is apparent right across the political spectrum. And remember, he was one of the tough head kickers. They gave them more hell than just about anyone. But through it all, there was a recognition of the integrity of this bloke, and I just refer first to Bob Cannon. I don't know whether you're here, Bob, but good on you, mate. Where's the bloody hat? A very significant tribute, I think, to Arbo from Bob. I just read it. It's at page 397 of the book. And he said this: Karen introduced by saying, Bob Catter is full of praise. And he quotes him, Albanese has what used to be called in Australia the common touch. He's comfortable with ordinary people, and that is a very rare commodity in Canberra. These people will love the downtrodden or grovel to the rich. Albo treats them all the same. I have immense respect for Albanese. You could only describe his performance as brilliant. And that, of course, was given in the context of the extraordinarily difficult times of the Gillard government, when you were living on a knife edge, and you had to be engaged in the negotiations with everyone. And Bob Catter got to know you well in that situation. And Bob, I thank you for your assessment. I think it's absolutely accurate. And it was just a note that comes after that, attributed to Tony Windsor, who was also referring to the difficulty of that situation, which Anthony was handling so well. And Tony Windsor said, quote, he was the absolute glue in the machinery which held everything together. And you can't get a much better tribute than that, and it was accurate. And just finally, in terms of these references, Joe Hawke. So it's not a bad spectrum. Catter. Here's what Joe had to say. I got it here. He's at page 276, I think, of the book. We'll find him too. But he's extremely warm in his assessment also of this is Joe. He said he referred to the tutoring that Anthony received from Tommy Wren, and he said Tom encouraged Anthony's best qualities. Quote, to be a man of principle, to be honest, your handshake is your word. And every moment I've ever dealt with Anthony Albanese, his word is binding. Now, I want to suggest, my friends, that it's no accident. It's also very interesting, you can add to that the reference here to the sort of interesting relationship between Christopher Pine. Now, I don't know, but I can't imagine that Christopher's the most easy bloke to fall in love with. And it'd be powerfully wealthy with you. But Christopher Pine is quoted as saying he's the only friend I've got in the Labor Party. that says something about it, I'm not quite sure, mate. No, but seriously, my friends, when you look at those tributes, you can't avoid the conclusion, which is the right conclusion, that this is a truly remarkable man. You've got to ask yourself, how did it all start? And there is absolutely no doubt about the answer. It's crystal clear. The centrality of the importance of this remarkable woman, Mary Ann, Anthony Albanese's mother. I won't go to all the quotations here where Anthony pays, deep, heartfelt, expresses his most deep, heartfelt love and appreciation and indebtedness to his mother. Everything he has done, he says, everything he's been able to achieve is because of her. Now, my friends, in going back and asking how it started, we've really got to say that you're getting two books in this book, Albanese. And it's a fascinating intermixture of the two stories. One, of course, and I'll go finally to talk more about the actual achievements of Albo before and when he got into Parliament. But you've got this remarkable story. It's sort of like a romantic novelette woven in to the main story, and that is the story of the Albanese family. This remarkable woman, his mother, and the missing father, finally discovered in the latter days. And in terms of the question I asked, how did it all begin? It began because of this remarkable woman who had this child in 1933. And I won't go through the story of the absent father because it's already been told on television, but for those who haven't seen that, I don't want to spoil the story. But he grew up without a father, just a mum. Mum adored him, committed herself absolutely to ensuring she would do everything to make his future a happy and a productive one. 3 faiths: Catholic Church, South Sydney, and the Australian Labor Party. Not in terms of the order of importance that Albo would put upon it. But he saw and witnessed, his mother knew and experienced, the awfulness of inequality of opportunity, of the difficulties of living from week to week, wondering where the money was coming from. And in this situation, she instilled into this young boy, this growing lad, faith in the Australian Labor Party as the only political instrument which was capable of creating a more equitable and a more decent society. And this is something he got from his mother in the earliest days, and it never left him. And it explains why he was always ready to express the gratitude he owed to his mother. And I can understand, because I know how important parents are in shaping your attitudes, your convictions, and creating the environment for you which is going to give you the greatest incentive to make the best of what you've got. And I think it's marvellous the way in which you consistently pay tribute to that remarkable woman. And as I say, I won't go into the story about your father, but also the way in which time came in which you felt you had to find him if you could. And the story of the marvellous collection of serendipitous circumstances which led to the discovery. It's a marvellous story, and it's, as I say, another reason for wanting to read the book. Now, just to wind up on the side of the political achievements of this man, before I do that, I want to mention again, as Karen does, the tremendous contribution to the development of this man, of Tom Uren. Those around Anthony in those days as he was coming along in his tough, compelling way, thought that he needed a father figure, and Tom Uren was allocated that job. That is due to the tenacity, the commitment, hard work of Albo in working in that extraordinarily difficult parliamentary situation. But the fact is that due to that leadership that he gave in the House in that period of the Gillard government, 595 pieces of legislation went through the House. A remarkable achievement, and to a very large extent, and they were in important areas of education and the like. Our has much to be congratulated for that achievement. Let me just, as I almost conclude, refer you to the achievements in his own ministry, particularly in infrastructure. And I'll turn to page 418 of the book. And these are truly quite remarkable statistics, of which you are, Anthony, entitled to be extremely proud. At page 418 of the book, Karen quotes our saying, we invested, this is a remarkable figure, we invested more in urban public transport between 2007 and 2013 than all previous governments combined from Federation to 2007. Not a bad achievement. And he also refers to the streamlining of transport regulators, reducing the number of regulators from 23 to 3. It's very interesting. He'd been the only transport minister invited to attend roundtable talks in Singapore on the future of global aviation in 2012. His aviation white paper earned him the title of Aviation Minister of the Year in 2010 from the Peak Global Industry Group, and 2 years later he received the equivalent international award in infrastructure. Truly remarkable achievements. Then he also proudly points to this fact, and it says, Karen quoting, it's a point of pride for Anthony that when he became Minister, Australia was ranked 20th in the industrialised world for infrastructure investment, that when he left office it was first. Now, you think of those statistics, they're truly remarkable. This was not just a hard-working, dedicated, inspired Labor man plodding away in Australia and doing his job competently. He was taking Australia into positions of world leadership in these important areas. So I hope, my friends, without having gone to too much of the book, I've given you a taste of it, taste of this remarkable man. I'm inordinately proud of my political party, the Australian Labor Party. It has endured now from the end of the 19th century, the only continuous party for the whole of that period. We've had our bad periods, when we haven't been at our best, but we have never lost our commitment to basic labour principles. And amongst these are fundamentally the concept of equality of opportunity, the abolition of discrimination based on religion, colour, race, creed or gender. And the reason that we have survived and will live to come again to government in the not too distant future. The reason is that those basic principles have been unchanged and that we have continued to throw up men and women of character, integrity and commitment who have been prepared to be pragmatic where necessary to achieve outcomes, but never to abandon basic principles. And here, in the subject of this book, we have an outstanding example of just that. I close by saying, thank you. How about it? for being what you've been and for continuing to do that. Thank you for the contribution you have made through your party to Parliament and to this country, to the region and to the world. This country is a better place because of your activities within our party and within our governments. And I thank you, Karen, for having brought together such an interesting, complex and unique story. I recommend this book highly to you and have much pleasure in launching it. I forgot one thing. Carmel, I'm sorry. But just as his mother was so important, since you're married in 2000 to Carmel, you have been one of the great power couples of Australian politics, and she has been such a sustaining force to you, and that is duly acknowledged in the book, as it should be. And Nathan, I want to say this is offspring Nathan, if you haven't got politics in your mind, it'll be bloody remarkable, because you must have it surging through your blood by the gallon.